Tonight, we are going to talk about the difference between trademark and actually copywriting. We've had a couple different questions come up about this, and so I want to explain it in a way where you understand I am not an attorney. I don't even play one on YouTube. I have just had so many different experiences, I think, because I've published so rapidly, so quickly in so many different niches that I have had the fiasco up and down of copyright and trademark. And through this process, I've been able to see the power of both of these elements and what you can do to start just thinking about it, because I don't ever want someone to not publish because they're afraid of the law. There are so many beautiful blessings about having copyright protection in the United States. Okay. So let's dive into this. I also may have some attorneys in the comments, which thank you for being here, keeping us updated, and helping us grow. Okay. So here is the most important thing for you to remember when it comes to like books with copyright is this is the best way to remember it. Okay. Copyright is a protection, like it's an umbrella, right? Here's our umbrella for content. Okay. This video is copyrighted because I'm putting the human touch in it and recording it for you because I love you. It is covered. I have copyright over it. I own the copyright. When I upload it to YouTube, I have to tell them that I own the copyright. Okay. There's my little top of my umbrella. Okay. It's the packaging, right? It's what I say. It's my frameworks that I share. It's actual content. Okay. So the umbrella for copyright for books is actually what you put inside of your book. Okay. It is the pages. It is whether it's an activity book, whether it's a maze book, whether it's something, your personal diary, your burn book, right? Like it is the content inside. This can be copyrighted. Now, in the United States, you automatically own the copyright, just like me making this video. Isn't that an incredible blessing? Okay. So that's the first part, is like your book is copyrighted because you made it. Now it gets a little bit more complex because I've gotten a couple emails about people that have seen where books with some AI help are getting copyrighted. And so right now, copyright law allows you to take another step. Okay, so this is the first step. You own it by the human touch, right? That is like you own it. Okay, so when you upload a book to Amazon KDP, you click the box, I own the copyright. Okay, the second part of this is actually the registration. Okay. So back in the day, you guys have left the best comments on all of my copyright videos when you talk about writing a script and then mailing it with a post like a date stamp, post date stamp, to show that like if you ever got in any trouble with copyright, you owned the first manuscript, you have it. With the digital era, that footprint is getting harder, but I still think it goes back to those basics, okay? So you have the book on Amazon, you're claiming the copyright over it. But to be able to litigate or protect or anything like that, you have to go through the steps of registration, okay? And so registration happens on the US copyright website, okay? .gov. And I'm still working on doing a full tutorial because I want to make sure it's the best thing for you. Okay. So there are hundreds of self-publishers that have thousands of books that have not done step number 2, but they've done step number 1. And while there's not anything inherently horrible about that, there are some risks to think about when you're not taking number 2 as a precaution. Okay. So if someone steals your content, this has actually happened to one of my attorney's clients, and they copyright it. it's really hard to prove that you had it first. You can use things like the Amazon publishing date, but having registration is super, super helpful. Okay. Now, this isn't as common. Maybe there's many of you within the sound of my voice that this has not happened to, and I pray that it never happens to it. But there are dishonest people out there that think that they're not amazing enough to figure stuff out themselves, so they still, okay? It's sad. We pray for them. Okay, so that is registration, okay? So here is what copyright cannot cover, okay? Copyright cannot cover, we should just cross it out, right? It cannot cover titles. That's not a copyright thing, okay? Especially really common phrases, they can't be copyrighted, okay? So titles can't be copyrighted. So that brings us to like, we built a beautiful brand on Amazon. How do we take it a step further? How do we protect our brand, okay? We can do that first step of the interior that we can build something out, right? We can register the book. Now, here's something that happened to me, right? You guys have heard this story. I had a brand that was copied. And so what I decided to do was I decided to copyright the series of covers. Okay. One of the reasons that I did the covers is because the inside you can't copyright because it's a low content book. There are exceptions to copywriting low content books, and that would be if you had your own IP in it. Okay. So, like, you have a prompted journal and you're like, I teach this framework, but make it make sense. It makes sense, right? Like, you can't just put lines on a book and say, I own this, because they've been around forever, right? Okay. So the way around that was to copyright a series. Okay. And I'm still in that application process. Okay. So this brings us to the second part, which I feel like we could do an entire video on this. I just want to be very clear on what copyright is. Trademark is really fun, which I'm going to get more into. I've been talking to my attorney, Evan, about it a bunch. Okay. It's like the branding. Okay. So this is where, like, if you had a series name, which you've heard me say Harry Potter. You've heard me talk about bullet journal. Okay. And so this is where you can start protecting your phrases. But they have to go through an application process, right? So trademark first step is also, this is also a registration application. And this gets really complex. That's why I haven't taught it on this channel, because I'm not an attorney. I'm getting closer to like helping you as much as I can. But some of you said, like, what if we can't hire an attorney? I don't want you going out and hiring an attorney unless your book has started to generate something for you. That's just, in my heart of hearts, that's what I feel is best. And that's the way I did it. Like, I don't come from money. I've had to bootstrap stuff. And if you need a separate video on that to make you feel better, I can certainly do it. I was raised in a family. I was number 2 of 8 kids. And it kind of felt like sometimes my dad took our shirts off our back to help other people. Okay. I've got a lot of stuff that I'm working through in that, where I'm like, I don't ever want my kids to feel that way. I want to have enough abundance that I can give away everything to help other people. Okay. With the connotation that, like, my kids' physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual needs are met first. Okay. Big side quest there. Thanks for being there with that heaviness. Okay. So this is where, if you had a book brand, you can also trademark a pen name. Okay. So other people can't use a similar pen name. Let me just rewrite that. Phrases, brand names. This is also sometimes slogans can be So this is where it gets really fun on KDP is when we protect our books for trademark. We do it under what's called a series. Okay. So we can't necessarily trademark one book, but if we have a series, let's call it like let's do like barnyard babies. Barnyard babies galore. That's a horrible pen name. It's a brand name. But like if I was going to do like 5 to 6 books under this pen name, I could trademark that. And then in previous videos you saw I talked about that you cannot use brands in the backend keywords without authorization. That means people should not be using Barnyard Babies Galore, My Baby Barnyard coloring books in their description or in their backend keywords or even their title or subtitle. Okay. So that is the discrepancy that people get mixed up, is that titles on KDP, like you can't copyright. Does that make sense? I want you to drop a yes if that makes sense, okay? But if there is some trademarking going on, you need to be very careful not to infringe on someone's trademark, okay? So when I got a copyright claim on my account, somebody was going through a trademark application and they only had one book. Okay, and it wasn't the registration. I don't even know how to write this out. The registration, it wasn't live. Okay, so they really shouldn't have even come after me, because a series for trademarking needs to be at least 2 books to show, and it has to be live. Okay. So through some negotiation, my attorney helped me, but communicating to that self-publisher, like, hey, when you do a copyright claim and it shuts down my account, like, it's not cool and you're not even using it correctly. So I don't want you to go out and do a bunch of applications for trademark until you have a couple books live and they're making you money. Okay. So let me know what questions you have. That the most important thing is that you can't copyright a title. Okay. There's a lot of confusion. And something we don't even deal with books, which I've seen in my comments, is patents. Okay. We're not even talking about that. That's like inventions and stuff. You can't patent a book. Okay. Now you can copyright a book, the content, and if it was in a series, you could trademark it. Okay. So I love you. Thank you for being here. Please remember, I'm not an attorney, but my goal is to help you go faster, have more time freedom, spend time with your loved ones by building a book income stream machine. If you've made it this far, please come to my free training coming up. I'll drop a link below, and I will see you in the next videos.